Yeah. So I was just watching a video on YouTube from TYT interviews, and it was talking about constitutional law gentleman, and I think he's a professor or something. I forget, but uh, TYT did an interview with this guy, and it's called "How Corporations uh, how corporations got a constitutional law or something like that." Anyways, I'm watching it, and there's a lot of crap in there, but it's something that I've been talking about for years, and I think that the whole premise of legality and how it's been lopsided, almost even before the founding of the country, and and this just basically solidified my thinking, because whether you have the whole, it puts into the question of an actual democracy, because it's been corrupt from the get-go. There's no way you can argue that we have a democracy when the when those of the elite, the landowners, and the people that have the monetary resources are the ones who have continuously pushed the agenda, and they have used the media platform, an opinion platform that is widespread, and they have used shifty criminal actions, typical of con men and other. So you can call them con men, thieves, robbers. You can call them whatever. It completely utterly applies, because it has always been that, and there's only been the minutia of actual democracy, because there is no minutia in it. There has never been any legitimacy. It's all been a shell game and a con game from the get-go. So if the vast majority of the population, take out the minority aspect of it, all right? If the vast majority of the populations that make up a country or a nation have basically only what the elites are allowing, then is it a democracy? Because it isn't. I mean, Cenk likes to use the word "we," and he makes a comment on the video interview. Like, we wrote it, and and he always uses that. We wrote it. We allowed it. We did. But this puts into the question: is, did we write it? No, we didn't write it. It was a small group of people, and oftentimes an individual who was an elite, who took criminal, illegal action to influence it, to change it. And when you use that, and you have others that placed into the, especially when we're talking about non-elected people who are put in to positions of influence, like the Supreme Court and the vast majority of the courts, and you have politicians who get in there talking bullshit for the vast majority of it, and they get in, and their influence, whether it's through money, whether it's through extortion, whether it's through pressure, whether it's through smearing, you get what we have, what we've always had. This isn't a present day thing. It's not just in the recent past. It's not even to the beginning. It's before the country even was made, before the pilgrims, quote unquote, pilgrims came. This has been the structure throughout the world, and it's always been there. And we hear the word conservatism, and we hear it constantly. But you know what? There is no such thing as conservatism, because what you got when you're talking about conservatism is the opinions and wishes and basically law of the elites. That's what conservatism is. It's the manufactured and engineered inequities that the elites have pushed. And if anybody is, and if there's those that understand about neurological science, we can understand the permanent connections, synaptic connections within our brains can be established. And if anybody out there understands psychology, we know that using things over and over and over, saying it and putting it on video and putting it on in newspapers and putting and talking points, that it establishes neural connections, permanent neural connections, which means that we're basically, when you follow it, you basically get stuck there because you can't think outside of it, because it's a permanent connection. And it's just like it's just like if we develop a habit like smoking. Smokers will understand this, is that it's very, very difficult. It's almost nigh impossible for the vast majority of us to break this habit, even though we know it's bad for us. But the thing about it is that with conservatism and also many other falsehoods, and you know what? I'm not going to even use falsehoods. It's out and out lies. And lies are never used for the good of others. It's always the good of for the liar. And that's what we have, is that the liars, the cheaters, have always, and they are the elites, and politicians and media people have been liars, have been cheaters, from inception of the human race. And it is these liars and these cheaters who have written and wrote the book on how we are supposed to live. And no matter how much intellectualism is applied, if if the majority can't break the chain, can't kick the habit, and they don't have the knowledge, the facts and realities, and they can't see outside of it because it has been established as the norm, as the proper thought, therefore a permanent connection. From the day you're born, that establishment is constantly pushed the narrative. So what we have is a subjective lie under which we have been living from almost day one of the inception of humanity. And it has only continued to get worse because we've always looked to others to dictate how we think, how we live. And there's no life. You know, I got to tell you, I keep going back to this. Like when I was young, and when I was very young, you know, and we all share this in common. We saw brightness and we saw potential, and we saw a sense of a better sense of a bright and tantalizing and hopeful future for ourselves. But the thing is as we get older and we start we reach puberty and so on and so forth. Even you know, when starting, actually even before that, even as young toddlers, when we're like when we're in. So basically, these connections start, and we're always constantly bombarded with it. And that brightness, that hope that of a great future, and that where there's nothing we can't achieve, starts to become dull and gray, and we start losing we start losing the dreams. And that's what conservatism, that's what the establishment does. It kills dreams. It kills future. And so, as I said, is it we the people who wrote all these unequal and the break from reality, from what we actually have to deal with in our day-to-day lives? No, it wasn't we the people. It was we the elites. So when I hear Cenk and all these others like Joanne Reed, and you hear Fox, the pundits on Fox, and you hear it in the New York Times, the Washington Post, and you hear it everywhere. Even when you're having a conversation with others, there is no such thing as we the people. Because we the people Especially now, I think we can understand that we, the people, really don't have any power, that there is no actual democracy, because in real democracy, we, the people, okay, should have rational reasoning, cognitive reasoning. We should have the knowledge, the education. We should have the proper neural connections. And we shouldn't be having words like conservatism or liberalism or centrism or any of these other manufactured and engineered thoughts and ideas. Because thoughts and ideas are connections up here. And when you make it permanent and you cement it, you warp and distort reality. And that's why we have wars. That's why we have all the violence and killing. That's why we have ideas of the bigoted ideas of racism. That's why we have the ideas of classism. That's why we have the ideas of worshiping people who have this illusion of status due to whether you call it money, whether it's gold, silver, or the semi cloth that we call money today. That's why people. So when we see people having yachts and planes and beautiful, large, beautiful homes and vacation homes. That's why we have Las Vegas. That's why we have all these non-essential warp-based realities that pollute us as a people, as humanity. And that's why you have people who can do the monstrous things that they do. And it's all because of that. It's all because it was intentionally engineered. Why? It's simple, because I keep saying this. The people who are elite, they are looking only for self-gratification. It's not even about money. It's all about control and power. And control is about how you make others think, how you make others act. And power is the ability to apply how you make others think, how you make others live. And racism and bigotry and all that other stuff has to be a foundation for those people that want the control and want the power. Because if they can't do that, and if the people don't accept it, if humanity doesn't accept it, then they can't apply it. They can't apply the two factors. And they apply those two factors so that they can be the lazy. So they can have all the freedoms to do whatever they want. And when you have that sort of thing, and it's a common thing, with great power comes great evil and corruption. So the whole premise is based on evil and corruption. And corruption is basically means is that we, the elites, will do whatever we want, and there is no morality, there is no ethics, there is no principles. It's about doing what we want so that we can basically live the way we want at the expense of everything else, including the very world, the very planet that we all need. Whether you call whether we're humans, whether we're animals, whether we're humans or whether they're animals. Evil doesn't care. It's self-destructive. And when we buy into it, we are promoting and enabling, and we are complicit. So we are therefore being self-destructive, and we are committing evil. Each and every single one of us. I don't care if you call yourself a Christian. I don't care if we call ourselves atheists. I don't care if we call ourselves liberals, conservatives, libertarian, the far right, the far left, whatever insane and innate terminology we would like to put ourselves. Whether you call yourself a Muslim, a Christian, a Buddhist, Hindu, whether you think of yourself as a philosopher, or if you think you're somebody who is about science, we are all complicit. So when we go around, when we see about all the atrocities that are committed, we are complicit because we prop up the system, because we don't take the prerogative, we don't initiate it to learn and educate ourselves to the realities. And we buy into the narrative and we keep using the narrative, then we are complicit with the destruction of our environment, to the destruction of our only one true home, the planet. When we go kill animals indiscriminately, when we chop down trees, and we destroy our lands and our water, we are complicit. No, we don't write. We just do. When you can't think for yourself, when you can't see reality, and you are either complacent or apathetic, when we want to be lazy and do nothing and not learn and view reality as for what it is, and we put in imaginary things, then we are complicit. There's the only we there, is that we are complicit. Is it we that wrote these inequities? Is it we that promote these inequities? No. The foundation is the elites have done it without we voting to see it, but we buy into it. So that's the only way we have. We buy into it. It's they, the elites, who wrote it. Food for thought, right? Of course, vast majority of you won't see this, and nobody's watching right now. But the simple fact of the matter is your opinions based solely on your on what has been falsely established up here, driven through the narrative to regulate our emotions so that we continue to think with the narrative rather than actually view reality. There is no such thing as objective or subjective. There is only reality. There is what's real and what's not.